Hi guys, I'm Shmee. Hello, good evening, and welcome back to the channel where you join me back in the Netherlands at Thornhedge Car Storage, who have very kindly been looking after the cars since the Amsterdam Motorshow. So it was about a week ago that we loaded all 6 of the cars into one big truck in London to come over here to the Netherlands to be on display at IAMS. At the end of the show, the cars came to be stored here in some pretty decent company, it has to be said, but it's now time for the next stage of this adventure. So tonight, I'm going to be going for a blast in the GTC4Lusso, but before that, we need to get the GT8 and the 675LT loaded into a truck to head to London. The GT and the Senna are going to be hanging here for a few more events coming up. I'm also going to be leaving the Red Edition Focus RS at the end of the line to have a few more modifications made here in the Netherlands. It's a project car after all, but tonight is about the Lusso, the latest addition to the Shmeemobile fleet that at this point, I've actually only driven a handful of times. Well, ahead of me is a 4-hour blast back home to Frankfurt, and that means potentially some de-restricted Autobahn to maybe get it up to 300 kilometers per hour, and definitely to hear that Ferrari naturally aspirated V12 absolutely screaming. So we're hanging tight for the truck to arrive for the GT8 and the LT, then let's crack on with the evening. I've got lots to tell you and to experience this out on the Autobahns. This is still completely a dream to see the cars lined up here beside one another under some stunning lighting here at Thornhedge, it has to be said, but I am honestly very much having to pinch myself. It feels unreal, a dream that's become reality, and it's been an amazing few days bringing the cars over to IAMS, meeting so many of you as well, but this really marks the start of the journeys that are to come, particularly with these two. Now that they're run-in, the Senna has reached the run-in mileage as well. They're both going to be heading off to quite a few more things in the coming weeks, and then this summer it's going to be getting even wilder. Like I said though, the first thing we need to do is get these two loaded up. The LT and the GT8 will have some very noisy startups shortly. Then I'm going to be jumping into the Lusso to continue the journey back home. But let me quickly show you around. There are some amazing cars here. Speciale 599 GTO, many more tucked away under covers, and then here a particularly lovely M3 GTS, and look at that spec as well on the AMG GTR. But really and truly for me, seeing the colours under the lights like this, the specs of the cars, I'm so happy with the look of them all when you see them in the row like this. But what's also interesting actually, I just noticed those 5 are all in height order. You'd have to swap these two around despite the Senna being in its race mode and the GT being able to go even lower if you pop it into track mode. But what we're doing now is holding on tight for the truck to arrive, then we'll get those two out, get them loaded up before departing down to Germany. And the truck has arrived. We're spoilt with a lovely evening in which to load the cars. Look at the reflection off the side actually. So we will get, I think, the cars up on maybe on the top deck. We'll find out very shortly and go from there. We are going to start with the noisy one. So this in here, right next to the wall, is potentially going to be very, very loud. Not that I'm complaining. So let's take a little listen to the GT8 starting up. Cold start, guys. Let's do it. Well, there we go. One in. That was quite easy on the lower deck. Oh, there we go. Magic. Thank you very much. That makes it a touch easier to get on down before we jump in to get the McLaren as well. But there we go. Done. Number 2 then. So I don't actually know how this is going to sound in here compared to the GT8. Probably a touch quieter. Yeah, we're good. Have to be very careful with that kind of thing, but we're fine. We left just enough room. So let's take a listen to the 675 LT. Give me 1 second. And going into live. I managed to get this one out quicker than he strapped down the GT8. So as soon as that's done, we can go straight in. You have to remember things like folding in the mirrors. That's important. Also, obviously, the lift system up in this car, you might have spotted I put it up when we were coming out. And then just kind of drive on, park the car, and make sure the handbrake's on, obviously. The car's very close together, and climb through to hop on out the left. And we're out the passenger side. This one's a touch easier though, because the door didn't have any issues, and I can just jump down. Oh, done. It's time then. I'm going to close up this side if I can find the catch and say goodbye for the time being to the cars. See them again very soon. Ta-da! Bags are loaded up then in the Lusso. Of course, it looks a little bit different. I've shuffled the red RS to sit beside the other two, given that they're staying here, and the keys for all the cars are now with the key keeper. So next up for these, the red RS is going to be heading to have some suspension work done here in the Netherlands, ready to make it even more ready for the track. The GT and the Senna are both going to be going to Spring event. I haven't been for the last couple of years, but I can't wait to take both of the cars there. And then after that, they're both going to go to Car Freitag. And that in the background, by the way, was the startup of a Brabus E63. Very, very cool. So those two cars are going to be going, as I said, to Car Freitag to maybe do some Nordschleife laps. Let's see how that goes. For now, though, let's hop into the Lusso, get it fired up, and get out on the road. All right, then. Let's go. Bring it into life. The sun has set and the journey has begun. So Waze is telling me about 390 kilometers to go, which is only about 3 hours and 35 minutes, which seems a little bit quicker than I expected. But then we are going from reasonably south in the Netherlands to not that deep into Germany. This is, like I said though, the first kind of proper drive that I've actually done yet with the GTC4Lusso. So I collected the car from Bramley's, drove it into London. That was maybe 60, 70 miles in total driving. Then Schmark drove it out to Mountune to pick up the red RS. And all I've really done with it since has been kind of moving it in and out of the motor show. So this is basically the first time that I am actually driving this car anywhere substantial. And the beautiful thing about having just over 4,000 miles on the clock is that we can enjoy this journey and some noise from the V12, so that is very definitely the plan of action ahead of me. You might notice that it is actually quite late in the evening. I'm due to get there at about 1 AM, so there are some slower sections of the Autobahn that late at night, and of course it's dark, so common sense prevails at all points during this, and I'm only going to drive quickly if it's safe to do so and the conditions allow. But it is a nice warm dry evening, and like I said, 400 kilometers or so to actually get all the way back. A gentle stroll though over to the motorway, and then we will properly embark. And I'm looking forward to seeing what this car is actually like, because the FF was always super twitchy at high speed. It has such sensitive steering and throttle response, which make it such an exciting drive, but it did mean that when you would be pushing on in the car, it did give you a sense that it wasn't fully as planted as you might like it. The Lusso is more of a GT, and this might be where it comes into its own. In any case, I'm rambling on. Let's get on the motorway, head on a bit out of the Netherlands, and make our way towards Germany. Out we go to the motorway then, and I'm really hoping I'm not going to find much traffic today, but of course, we're in the Netherlands, not in Germany, so there is only so much we can do, but already a little bit of sound of the V12. Let me just drop some gears. Listen to this. Oh yes! Oh, nearly went for the wrong place with the indicator. This is going to be so much fun to let it open up properly later on. That noise in the background, just gently building the revs. I love it! I haven't gone the way that I expected, so we've just gone into Germany. My cameras weren't quite on, but I've been driving in comfort mode. We are now on derestricted Autobahn though, so back into sport, out of auto. Time to drop some gears, because it's time to do this. Yes! The shift lights are so cool in here. You get that blue light at the end, and that was, well, I don't really know, but over 200 kilometers an hour, very, very quickly, with so much noise. And listen to it. Just listen to it. So I thought I was going to enter Germany near Aachen, where you have an amazingly straight Autobahn for quite a long section. But we're in a slightly different route, I think near Mönchengladbach, heading towards Düsseldorf. But nonetheless, that sound is just monumental. I wonder what it's like for the truck drivers to go past, although this is of course where you have to wind it in a notch because 2-lane road right now, need enough space to brake if required. It's so good! This might be quite an expensive trip in terms of fuel consumption, but those of you who comment on a frequent basis that you don't see red lines being hit here, well, you can't really do that much better than this. An open Autobahn, let's see what we've got in front of us. Let's just enjoy the drive and have a whole lot of noise along the way. The speedo, interestingly, is in miles per hour. Wow, foot flat. This thing really picks up 150 odd miles per hour. So the speedo's in miles, you get the kilometres down at the bottom, quite a small little readout, and I'm not sure there's a way to change that. I had a quick look in the settings earlier, but didn't want to spend too long. Wanted to focus on getting on the road and getting this drive under the way. Of course, I'm concentrating very, very hard on what's going on in front of me at the moment, just because it's dark. We're going to open out onto a straight here. It's into 4th gear. What? The sound opens up even more when your foot goes flat. Yeah, okay then. 160 miles per hour. Phew, this thing barrels along speed limit section, hard on the brakes. Oh, it does what a Ferrari does and blinks the hazards when you come down the brakes, but yeah, not a bad little start to my Autobahn journey this evening. Let's continue, hopefully find some more de-restricted and very straight sections in the not too distant future and see what it's made of. Well, I've just broken my 300 km/h duck in the GTC4Lusso, but of course I'm not filming the entire drive. It was 300 precisely, and the trip actually keeps a record of the maximum speed that you've done. I like to reset it every time I fuel up, so I might have to fuel up before the end of this journey, but it did 300 absolutely with ease, completely effortless. I'm gonna go out now onto a different Autobahn. Hopefully if I get another empty stretch, I'll keep the cameras rolling. I am of course going to turn off the in-car light, which it does very gently. It's things like that that this car does that you didn't get in the FF. So the way the lights just come on smoothly and easily rather than just on or off, the way it has the diffuse panel for the air conditioning. At the moment, you can't really see much. All you can hear is a bit of V12 in 3rd gear. So, let's head on out then. I'm not sure if this stretch is de-restricted or not, but I'm going to judge by the guy going speeding past that it must be. So, let's get out into the left-hand side, foot down. Yes! This thing is just nuts. Honestly, absolutely nuts. I mean, we're going 270-ish and I'm going to get on the brakes. The red line sound. Yeah, the weird thing though is every time you brake hard, or even if you just engine brake, it puts on the hazard lights, which has always been a Ferrari thing, to basically let everyone else know that you're braking hard. And if you're driving on the track, it gets desperately annoying. Out on the road though, on the Autobahn, it's also a little bit irritating because you do just drop down a gear and that happens. Of course, the top speed of the GTC4Lusso is 208 miles per hour. That's 335 kilometers per hour, which is clearly pretty quick. The speedo reads very accurately as well, which is a nice thing. It's only a couple out at high speed. Obviously, all speedos slightly overread. You can use an app like Waze to compare and see, and it's just a couple of kilometers an hour over on the main dashboard. And if you're wondering why I use Waze, yeah, I do have to speak pretty loudly actually with the noise of this. If you're wondering why I use Waze, it is not that the Ferrari inbuilt navigation has any particular issues. It is purely that I like the live traffic and data and other details you get from Waze, and what a downshift. Is this not just an orchestra? I've not been recording, I've been enjoying the sound system in the car, but when you do this, you don't really need it. You can just enjoy this sound. Put back down again. Good gosh. Wow. Well, this is a quick stretch. Are we going to do 300 right now? Yep, that's 300. I'm going to go gently on the brakes, but I think 303 or so there. Yeah, we're on the hazard lights again. That's a really strange thing, but 300 kilometers per hour then, in the Ferrari GTC4Lusso, very, very easily. I just don't feel confident retaining that speed because you just can't see far enough up the road with all the trucks around. It's not the Sunday kind of closure to trucks, but I I suspect this is going to be quite a quick journey this evening, I should say. Since I left from my quick checkpoint, I've knocked off 10 minutes on the navigation time already. And yeah, onwards basically towards Frankfurt. A section of roadworks, we're getting to the end of that, which means de-restricted again. There are those signs, foot down, away we go. That was literally the red line there, people. So good. This car is so fast as well. Oh my good lord. Okay, that's 290-ish and I can see some traffic ahead. Again, just the rate with which it builds up the numbers is pure craziness. The downshifts are so monumentally epic as well. I think A to B down German Autobahns, this isn't as fast as my AMG GTR would be, particularly with the Renntech upgrades. But there's something about the beauty of the tone of this engine. There's nothing that does that like a Ferrari. And that was the reason that I went for this car. Oh, I'm sorry for the weird laughter. I just can't get enough of it. What a sound. Well, that was 308. Whew. So it turns out that the previous bit that I had videoed was 306, but 308, and I think the really interesting thing is that this car can go very, very quickly. Just a busier evening really than I expected. Not that that's a bad thing. I'm enjoying every time I get to put my foot down and just listening to this. How can you not enjoy listening to this? Up to the red line, and bang! Woohoo! And I'm finally back home. What a drive. It is very late, but the sound of this car is just immense. It's going to be a sad state of affairs when you can no longer have a car with a V12 in the future. It is heavenly, and this car is so, so good. More thoughts on that to come, but there's something quite cool to show you on the dashboard, but I had to turn the engine off almost immediately because it occurred to me it's the middle of the night, I'm in an underground garage beneath an apartment building, and an idling V12 is not the most sociable thing in the world. Anyway, on the dashboard of the Lusso, you have two trips. You can see there, actually, I'm just going to show you, I've popped it back into comfort. It drives so nicely in comfort, honestly. Sport, obviously, for the excitement, comfort for a general drive. But trip A, you can see at the top, that's just since I fueled up. I fueled up about 8.5 kilometers ago, just before getting home. But if I turn this to trip B, keep your eyes on the maximum speed. 320 kilometers per hour, just a smidge under 200 miles per hour. That is absolutely absurd, and it was really pretty comfortable at that speed, it has to be said. More to give for sure, but 320, not bad for a first proper drive of the GTC4Lusso on the Autobahns back home. But let me just turn that off so we're not using up all of the battery. The screen is lovely, the sound system in here is fantastic. Of course, I'm not using the passenger display or anything like that, but just getting familiar with the car. I'll give you some big updates. It's definitely more of a GT than the FF. I'm even just sitting here. Look at that roof. It's so, so, so nice. But in terms of the noise, in terms of the drive, in terms of the feel, but it drove at that kind of speed remarkably comfortably. Anyway, let me just quickly show you in the boot as well. We've got the button here. Give that a press. It opens itself back up. And come round here. Just, oh, the lights have gone off on me. I'm now walking around in the dark, but you can see the screens inside the car. Let's see if we can wake them back up. There we go. How random. Back here, it's a decent practical car. I've obviously got my suitcase, I've got another bag. This bag is with the covers. It actually comes with a full car cover, plus covers for the front seats, plus a steering wheel cover, all inside this bag, also with the trickle charger, which is really pretty cool. Now, we've got the carpeted boot as opposed to the leather boot, but look, you can fit a decent amount of stuff. You could have, these are kind of the bag size that you can take on an aeroplane. You can have two of those and more bags on top.
should you wish. And of course I have the Ferrari fitted luggage. I've just chosen not to use it. And then like the FF, you can remove this shelf and also the shelf with the spec list, and then fold down a 40-20-40 rear seat, depending how you'd like to put your luggage in there. But I didn't have that in my FF, and I'm definitely appreciating it. Now you can't see much of the rear, but one of my favorite views is just how wide the back of the car is with the quad tail lights and that single kind of line that runs all the way out to the width. It's a really, really cool shape. Anyway, first proper drive with the Ferrari GTC4Lusso. Of course, I've driven them before. Of course, I've driven this once or twice before, but that was a demonstration of how this car is going to spend much of the next year or two blasting around. I just noticed I haven't actually parked that particularly straight, which is rather untidy from me, but that's partly to blame on the reversing camera, which is not straight. We can adjust that and make it straight. That's going to need to be done. But the Lusso is going to be a grand tourer. I've bought this car to take it off on adventures, to drive it with luggage, maybe a support car for the GT and the Senna, but just a lot of driving around, enjoying it, driving, kind of daily driving a Ferrari, which sounds absolutely absurd to say, but yeah, what a drive, what a day, just unreal. Of course, setting off from Thornhedge, a big thanks again to them, a big thanks to you guys for being part of this journey and making it all possible to begin with. Again, honestly, completely humbling being at IAMS and meeting with so many of you, and then flying also to Cars and Coffee in Brescia, IAMS on Saturday, Cars and Coffee Brescia on Sunday, then back to Thornhedge to see the cars. And yeah, crazy. I'm completely gone, as you can probably tell from tiredness, but that was a fun blast on the Autobahn with the Lusso, and definitely not the last. So thanks again for watching, guys. Appreciate your support very much, as always. But that's it for this time. I'll see you again very soon. Cheers.